What's going on, everyone? So we got some answers here about Intergalactic from Naughty Dog. Now, Colin Moriarty, sometimes he thinks he's like too smart when he's not as smart as he thinks he is. We're sitting here trying to tell people that it is content complete and possible the Game Awards appearance. No. And potential launch in 2026. I mean, I can understand maybe trying to think that it may have some type of teaser or something at the Game Awards. But launching in 2026, dude, they already said Wolverine was a fall title. The game is not going to be done before that. So this game, to me, would be coming out in 2027. I've always thought this. And they're going to do like they do with their cross-gen jumps, where there'll be a PS6 launch version like that was for Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima and stuff like that. I can see there being a PlayStation 6 version in 2028. What all those extra features that Sony's going to be adding in, you know what I mean? But the funny thing here is that this guy is thinking that he's some smart guy. Let's get to this real quick. Probably having that look, thinking that he's going to be smart, telling somebody something, and it's like, yeah, you're about to get shut down. So the funny thing is after the guy posted this Reddit post 5 hours ago, he comes in with two edits. Jason Schreier, Dunk on Chud's guy, says, can assure you that Intergalactic is not coming out in 2026, telling him, be quiet. He silenced him, basically. And then you got Jeff Grubbs, we'll get to this in a second, saying it will not be shown at the Game Awards. So you got two people coming out of the side telling them, you're not as smart as you think you are. One, I know the inside stuff. It's not coming to the Game Awards. Oh, yeah, he got put in his place. And, two, I can assure you it's not coming out in 2026. I can tell you the same thing. Why would Sony drop two of those games close to each other? That's not the way Sony works with their games. They're not Nintendo. They don't drop games like that. So Wolverine is going to take up the end of 2026. Intergalactic will probably take up the end of 2027, or if it's a little bit earlier than that, I don't know. Naughty Dog takes a while, and they had to delay some stuff. You know how that worked. So that's definitely going to be 2027. And yeah, the Game Awards, well, Jeff Grubb just shut that down, so we got our answers on this. So here goes some original stuff so we can get into this. Like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you guys think. I ran into this over at Resetera, but it says right here, oh, well, thank Colin for the Nothing Burger. Was fun to theorize for an hour. Yeah, wasted an hour theorizing. At least Naughty Dog fans can rest easy now. To be fair, he did present things as hearsay, but some of us tend to get carried away from the smallest amounts of hopium. See y'all next year for another round of Naughty Dog The Game Awards speculations. Original body text. That's what he wrote after, but this is the original text. Info from a recent podcast with Dan Allen. Colin Moriarty said that Intergalactic is basically content complete and might be present at the Game Awards. I believe we'll see it at the Game Awards. I think next year it'll be good to go. Maybe they will delay it, but based on the way they're hiring, and also things I'm hearing about people interacting with the game, and they're also hiring for localization now. They're getting into the end, and it's a sign that everything is kind of locked down and content complete. I won't be surprised if it was out this time next year. The way that you said it to somebody is like he has some confidence to believe, to kind of reassure you. But he got slammed 2 times. So one by Jeff Grubb and one by Jason Schreier. Dunk on Chudge. He just dunked on him. So going down here, this guy says, can assure you that Intergalactic is not coming out in 2026. This is where he came down and said it. 376 people liked it. And this guy says, this is what he says right after that. He says, just curious, do you agree with the rest of Colin's comments, or at least with the sentiment that the game is further along than we might have expected? Thanks. He just straight up said no. Remember, he goes back to Bloomberg too, so over there on Wall Street. Hey, talk about getting shut down, right? I think that's kind of funny. But we got some more comments out, but there's a lot of funny things to this. He says, any news on Hollow Knight 3? I'll ask Team Cherry on Monday. I don't understand why you're even thinking about that. We just got the new one. It's going to be a while, dude. What the hell? Now, he says, your personal prediction for when you think the game might release doesn't have to be specific. Sally, my personal predictions are turned into headlines, so I've got to pass. That guy is smart, because look at what I'm doing. And, other people are going to say some things on Twitter and wherever else, because that is how it works. People are watching. They need to make content. I actually want to make a third video, but that's not why, because he said this, but I know what he means, though. That's actually kind of funny. I think he's learned his lesson from Hope You Chubs Get Dunked On. That's actually funny. 2027 confirmed by Jason Schreier. Shadow drop at the Game Awards. They're over there obviously trolling him. But okay, here's where Jeff Grubb comes in at. Okay, so over here, he comes in and highlights over that when this guy says Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, is already complete in terms of content and it will be shown. He comes in and says it will not be shown at the Game Awards. Now he's just like, it's not going to happen. He straight up said it, like came over him. So he got double dunked on by two chuds. No, but this stuff is funny to me. So here's my thing with Intergalactic. Like, this we could talk about for a little bit, not too much. Naughty Dog obviously should have spent more time on this while putting The Last of Us Online to the side. I don't think they should have scrapped it. And if they did, they better hold on to those assets for the next game they plan on doing. Who knows what the hell they plan on doing. But I really don't think they should throw all that away. And like, I still don't understand how you're going to get into something and be in the industry that long and not realize how long it takes to keep up a live service game. Like, how can you be that out of, just out of touch? I don't know, man. It's just weird to me. But I think they're working on content. They're still doing things like finishing up stuff, still trying to decide how they want things to be in a certain way. I do not think it's like it's content complete. We got what we needed. No. Because they're also, I don't know if you know, they're also working on another game. They said they're working on 2 games. I think they're going to do like some Uncharted remake for PlayStation 6 as well. And they may have something else if it's something outside of that they're doing. But I think there's going to be something like that, like some revival. Or maybe they're going to make a sequel with like Nathan Drake having a kid with, Elena or whatever. But so, I think something along the lines with Uncharted is definitely going to come back. And maybe they might be doing something else. But obviously this is their main game because they just threw away, obviously, the assets of... I wouldn't say they threw away the assets, but they basically just straight up canned The Last of Us Online. And yeah, it sucks because we could have had this coming out this year. Yeah, I mean... I don't know what else to say about that. What do you guys have to say about that? So that's kind of like my take on here. Going over to Resetera is where I ran into this. Additionally, Jeff Grubb says it will not be at the Game Awards. Going down, 2025 release date confirmed. Let's go. Cross-gen launch title. That's what I'm saying. Look, Sony's going to do the same thing, like I said, they've done with their other games, where PlayStation 6 is going to get an Intergalactic version. PlayStation 6 is going to get a Wolverine version. You know what I mean? And the same thing they did with Ghost of Tsushima and they did with Last of Us and all those other games where they had that little finishing strong. They're going to try to do that with PlayStation 5, I'm telling you. And then make those cross-gen. But I don't think PlayStation 6 is coming out in 2027. I think PlayStation 6 should be 2028. Now, Magnus may be in 2027, but I don't know, man. Like, you guys let me know what you think about that. PS6 launch title. Like I said, I believe that happening. And I believe we can see something like, if there is going to be a Bloodborne remake, it is going to be that. And they're going to have a strong entry into PS6 with like all those games, Bloodborne remake, and maybe some other Sony like IP launching there. And that's why I say I think Sony's going to be fine along with the money hats. And then there's going to keep on being games that are going to keep on happening. So expect that to happen. Because next year they already got Sorrows, Neo 3, Wolverine, and a couple other games that we have coming. I just don't see why they would put Intergalactic in there and rush it out. It doesn't make any sense to me. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, if you had any common sense, like, you would realize, no, dude, where's the space for that? Sony doesn't do that. That game's not coming out to 2027 at the earliest. So it says a lot about him. This guy says, I was hoping about 2026 on the night of the Game Awards last year, but yeah, this was always going to be the big PlayStation 5 swan song. Sony says they also have a game that's going to be bigger than anything released this generation, if you guys didn't know about that. So we're looking at 7 years since Naughty Dog's last non-remake game. Yeah, it has been that long, but that's because they took all those years to try to do that Last of Us remake. And they were also working on whatever other game they kind of want to do. Like I said, I think it may be something Uncharted, or who knows, maybe it might be something else, and they have that going as well. They can only do so much at once, and they're kind of like that studio that doesn't release games too fast, so don't expect to get it really quick. June 2027? I don't know, maybe. But what I do know is it's not going to be 2026. So, yeah, we got our answers on this, so we can actually shut this down and not think that Naughty Dog is going to show up and that anything with that is going to be related. Now, if it shows up at the Game Awards, though, oh, Jeff Grubb's going to have to eat that, but he's pretty spot on. I will take him over Colin because Jeff Grubb usually knows his stuff and he has inside information, and he's not a pony. So he just says it how it is. You know what I mean? So there we have it. Let me know what you guys think about this. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out. This guy got checked. He thought he was making smart statements, and then two dudes just came out. Not just two guys. Jason Sherrier and Mr. Jeff Grubb. Peace out. And I think it's funny that we got this xcancel.com. I didn't even know about this. I think this is absolutely hilarious. Later, y'all. Kind of reminds me of Blue Sky, but I don't know. We'll see.